Welcome back to the shop, everyone. This week's video takes place in 2026, week 5, January 26th through February 1st, and I am just starting by blowing off the car. So in the last couple of videos, I've been stripping this car down, pulling all the paint off the quarters and the back panels there and everything. And well, you can blow, after you do all that stripping, there's stuff in the air, so you blow the car off and there's still stuff in the air. So, it takes like 4 or 5 attempts at blowing off the car for it to actually, not to be on the car anymore. So quite frequently I'll just blow off the car and go do other stuff and then come back in a bit and blow it off and there's more. So yeah, sanding and that sort of stuff is a very messy process. I'm very happy to have the plastic walls up, even though there is a ton of dust all over everything still. It's not as bad as it could have been. Alright, so I am starting this off by taking the rear bumper off. And the reason why I want to take the rear bumper off is because there is a bar under the back that has a little bit of rust on it, so I want to be able to clean that up, get some rust inhibitor on it before I kind of prime that entire area underneath there. As well as, I just want to clean up the back panel a little bit. There's a little chunk of metal. I can just cut it and make it a little bit cleaner. So I'm going to go ahead and do that while I'm at this. So I'm being a little bit lazy here. I'm getting the bolts off. I've left my hitch on the car. I've undone 2 of the bolts that tie it to the bumper. But this way I can just kind of lean the bumper on the hitch with no issue. But as soon as that's off, I am going to go ahead and undo the 8 bolts that pull the hitch out of the car. So yeah, so there's this bar going all along the back that my fuel cell mounts to and whatnot. But what I'm going to do right now is I just want to clean up some of this metal in the back. I don't need as much of it, so if I cut out some excess metal, I can get at some of the areas a little bit better. So on either side, I'm going to cut up vertically, and then I will cut a more straight line all along the top edge, and then I'll, cut vertically on the other side to get everything kind of maximize the space and maximize my access in behind it. So now that that's all cut, I'm going to switch over to a just a Scotch-Brite disc, and I'm going to do my best to clean off as much rust as I can, at least all the rust I can access, off of the rear bumper mounts, off of the tube, off of just kind of everything in the back there. And then once I get off what I can, there's some areas I just can't access just because it's too tight. I'll make sure I put some rust inhibitor on that, so when I go to prime this, hopefully none of the rust comes through it. Alright, so now that that is done, there is a bit of metal work that I need to do on the car before I can even think about attaching the roof or painting the car. So what I got to do is, there's some holes I have in the rockers here, both the front and the back. So I'm just going to go ahead and weld these up, grind them down flush, and that is all that we were going to need for this area. I'm being pretty cautious because, you know, with the MIG, I'm sending a lot of sparks everywhere. There's tape and plastic on the car, so it's possible that that could light on fire. I don't know what's in the rocker, if there's like sound deadener or seam sealer, like that could catch on fire. So it's one of those things where you got to be pretty careful with what you're doing, otherwise, you know, you could let your car, and in my case, my house on fire. So we don't want to do that. So I knew that the areas that I was welding in the rocker did not go into the passenger compartment, so I wasn't too worried about sparks getting on the inside and damaging the paint, like the paint that's on the cage or anything like that. But these holes up here on the body, this is in an area where, yeah, sparks would go right into the inside. There's sound deadening in the back here, so it's possible that that would, a spark could catch that on fire or burn holes in it and just make it not look as good. So yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and use my TIG here and fill up all these holes. And I realized, I'll talk about this a little bit more, but there's some holes on the other side of the car that I also need to fill. I think there's actually a couple more on this side I need to fill as well, and I'll show you why in a little bit here. So now that I got those holes filled, the next thing I'm working on is starting to work on the roof install. So I'm just using these clamps to get the roof in a pretty good place. You're going to see this takes me a little bit of time and a little bit of finesse and a little bit of going back and forth, side to side, repositioning the roof a little bit. Like, this really does just take time, and you just have to have some patience with it. So if you go down this route yourself, that's all I can really recommend is, yeah, just take your time, have patience with it, and make sure you get it right. So once I get this into a position where I'm happy with it, I'm going to switch over to drilling 1/8-inch holes and using clecos to hold it on. And the way I do this is I kind of run a cleco every 3 inches, and a few more on the back. And the thing, part of the problem is I didn't have enough clecos to do the whole roof on this go. But you know, I got the roof in a position where it's reproducible. I can just put all the clecos back in and it'll go back to exactly where it was. But yeah, so as you're watching this, you can see I'm going back and forth and back and forth, and it's just, I'm taking my time and making sure things are lining up, making sure the body lines are lining up, so that when I, you know, do some body work on this after, I'm not going to need to do an excessive amount of body work. It'll be pretty easy, I hope. Well, as easy as it'll be for me, because I'm, you know, brand new to all this stuff. And yeah. Alrighty, Cleco time. So I got the drill there. I got an 1/8" drill bit. I'm going to start by drilling a couple of holes in the front, because, you know, I got the front lined up where I want it. I don't want it to move all that much. So just get a, you know, Cleco here, and, you know, double check after it's in that it's doing, you know, what I want it to do, and it's, you know, positioned good. Just do a quick little check. Yep, come around to the other side and make sure it's as lined up as it was before I drilled the first one. And we'll get a Cleco in there. And from here, we'll just go ahead and make sure the back is lined up where I want it as much as I can. Get one in the back. And then I'll start working on filling in the gaps and putting more of these in. So yeah, as you can see, this is not a small amount of work. This is a lot of work. And part of the problem is in the back of the car here. There are some holes in the metal, so I can't actually install the clecos because the holes are right where they would go. So before I finish off the roof install and get more clecos on the car, I do actually have to do some more metal work on this side and the passenger side as well, because I got some holes where these clecos are going to go. And those holes were created when I pulled the old roof off. I used a spot weld drill bit and just accidentally went a little too far. It's not the end of the world. We can fix it. We can put some more metal in. But it just happens that I drilled in the perfectly wrong place where, a cleco wouldn't hold there. So yeah, and then I'm going to go along the back. Now I bought 50 a while back because I was like, 50 should be more than enough. No, it wasn't. So I ended up buying another 12 locally. I would have liked to have gotten more, but 12 was all they had, so I ran with what they had. But yeah, if I were to do this again, I'd probably just grab like 70 at least, because then I know I'd have enough if I had 70. So even though I didn't have enough clecos to fully drill everything, I had enough where I'll be able to reinstall it to exactly where it was. And that brings us to our next section, and the reason why I wanted to start doing the clecos and getting that going is I'm going to paint the inside of this roof. Now, could I have left it bare carbon fiber? Of course I could have. Would that have sped up my project a little bit? Yeah, it would have given me an extra day of time, I guess. Did I want to? No. Do I think the plan that I have in my head is going to be pretty damn cool? Yes, I do. Is it actually going to be pretty cool? I think so. So I'm just going to go ahead, and I don't want to paint on the surface that is actually going to be effectively glued to the car. So I'm going to use a 3M panel bond when I install this on the car permanently. And so I don't want any paint or primer or anything on that. I just want bare carbon fiber that I'll rough up a little bit. So I'm just going to go ahead and paint the outside edges. And honestly, that's going to be, touching the roof like the metal anyways, so you'll never see that. So taping this off is the right thing to do in this case. All right, so I mixed up the primer, the same primer I used on the inside of the car, and so just getting it sprayed out, and got some tiger striping going on there, probably because I'm not a great painter, but also this roof because it's carbon fiber, absolutely sucks back the paint. It just absorbs it. And now, again, as I said, I'm not a great painter, so that's, partly why I didn't get, great coverage the first time around. Second time around went a little bit better. You can see there's still a little bit of tiger striping. And I was also running out of primer. I probably shouldn't have used this tiny little cup. But I got, effectively 2 coats out of it. Got as much coverage as I could. And from there, I was like, you know what, this is what I'm going to say is good enough. I don't need to mix up anymore. It is just the inside of the roof after all. So, as with when I painted the interior of the car, after you lay down the primer, it's time to clean the gun. And it's a repetitive process throughout this. Paint a color, clean the gun, wait. So you have to wait between coats. This is actually, I think I do this on the Friday night so that I can paint the next day on the Saturday, kind of all day type of thing. Because believe it or not, between the waiting time, like the multiple coats, the waiting time between coats and all of that stuff, it actually takes me like 6.5 hours to do the rest of the paint. And you'll see why when I get there. So, I've got a little bit of vinyl here. Now, this is not specifically automotive vinyl. It's kind of cheap. I read some reviews that some people used it with success on cars, so I was like, all right, I'll try it. It's a low tack, so it's not super sticky, so it's a bit challenging to get it, off of the back paper, like to get all of the letters properly off of there easily. And then also for when I actually am trying to stick it to a surface, it wants to pull up quite easily, but that's okay. We're gonna take the time and we're gonna do this. So why do I have vinyl? If you haven't noticed already, the words that I'm pulling off are The Annihilator Racing, which is obviously the name of my channel, my Instagram page. I got the Annihilator, tattooed on my arm. So what I'm going to do is on the inside of the roof, I'm going to have it say The Annihilator Racing. So when you sit in the car, you'll be able to read it. And to get that, I'm going to do it in paint, and I'm going to use that's transfer paper there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put transfer paper over top of the vinyl, pull all the vinyl letters off, and the transfer paper will allow me to put this onto the roof where I want it. So the plan is like on my hat, the Annihilator is white, Racing is red, and then I got a black background. So the roof is going to go, so the color scheme throughout the car is red, white, and black. So the roof is going to get the same treatment as the interior. It's going to get the gray primer. It is then going to get a black base. It is then over top of the black base going to get a clear coat with red metal flake, and then clear over top of that. The Annihilator Racing will have the vinyl down while I'm doing the black and the inner coat with the metal flake. And then once the inner coat metal flake is all dried, I will pull up the letters for the Annihilator, and you can kind of see I have a second piece of vinyl there on the bench, and I will do the inverse of what I have here. So in this one, I pulled out the majority of the vinyl. The other one, I'll pull out just the letters, and then I'll use the reverse pattern in order to block off everything that's not At that point in time, it'll be gray primer, so I'll use the inverse of what I have here to block off just those letters. I'll tape off and plastic all around. I'll spray the white for the annihilator. I'll do 2 or 3 coats of that. And then once that's dry, I'll pull all that vinyl up. And then I'll do the same for racing. Pull the blue racing vinyl letters up. It'll expose the gray primer. I'll put racing over top of the gray primer. And then I will shoot that with a couple coats of red. And then after that's dried, I'll pull all those letters up. And then finally, I will clear the entire roof. So this entire process of just the vinyl and the painting is like 6.5 hours. So it takes a long time and a lot of patience and detail work to do it. And so, yeah, so I've got this centered on the roof right now. I'm going ahead and I'm, making sure all of the letters are nice and firm and in place. And this is just very tedious work because the letters, as I said, they're low tack, so they really want to stick to the transfer paper. They don't really want to stick to the primer all that well. So I am a little bit concerned about it not wanting to stick to the roof as much as I would like. But, the reason why I'm doing these things is as a test, right? Like I want to do some fancier-ish paint on the rest of the car. And so I want to test this on the roof where if I mess it up, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. A lot of people aren't going to see it. People at a car show might see it, but I just want to make sure that I can do what I am wanting to do. And that, if it turns out well on the roof, chances are it'll turn out well when I paint the rest of the car. As you can see here, this is taking quite a bit of time, takes quite a bit of effort. And what I'm doing is I'm just making sure those letters are really nice and tight against the paint. The T kind of broke there. And then what I'm going to do to make sure that as I'm spraying this thing, the letters aren't going to fly off. Oh, look at this. I double checked to make sure I got that vinyl on right. And I got it on upside down. So this is why I checked it. Just lift the roof, hold it upside down. I'm going to be looking at it this way. Is that right? Nope, it wasn't. And of course, I had a little paper template. Do you think I brought the little paper template out while I was putting the letters down? Nope. So sometimes you mess up, but I figured, you know what? If these letters aren't going to stick, this is the best time to find out. I'm going to spray as if I were actually spraying the roof and see if the letters stick, and they did. So now I'm going to redo what I just did, pull everything off, and then I'm going to put it down the right way. I put those green pieces of tape on either side and the top of the letters, so that way when I redo this, I already know where to put the letters. Like I don't have to measure too much. I can be fairly certain that it'll be right in the center where I want it. So yeah, just going to go ahead and pull the vinyl all apart again, and then I'll have to reprint out another thing of the Annihilator Racing so that I can do the inverse when it comes time to painting the rest. It does suck, but I'd rather find out that I did it wrong and backwards now than after I painted. as they usually say, second time's a charm. So when I actually get the letters down this time, I actually found a bit of a better way to pull the transfer paper off, and that's to pretty much roll it back at like 180 degrees. And this really seemed to help the letters release and stick down a lot better. So as you can see, I'm going a little bit quicker here than I did the first time around, which makes me pretty happy. And I'll know this for later or for next time. Don't pull it at like a 90 or 45, like pull it 180, and it just seems to release a lot better. So yeah, as soon as I get this done, I'll pull that tape up, and then I will start getting prepped for shooting the first coat, which is the black layer. So if I was smart, I probably would have done at least one more coat of the primer, maybe two, because, you know, I could kind of tell as I was painting this that it was still sucking up the paint a little bit. And also, you know, this is my first foray into painting, so I don't know what I don't know. Maybe I didn't have enough overlap on the black when I was painting it. Maybe it is just soaking up too much. But it did seem like I got decent enough coverage after 2 coats. I might do 3, I don't remember. But you know, I was happy enough with it. I was like, you know what, this is gonna be just fine. It's on the roof, it's on the inside of the car, it's gonna be dark, it's not gonna have sun like shining on it. You're probably never gonna see me screwing it up. Okay, so yeah, I do 3 coats. And on the 3rd coat, I saw I was getting good coverage on this on the first 2/3 here, and then I got to this last third, and I really started running out of paint. I was like, oh god damn it, just like get me to the end here. And you can see there's like this little tiny corner where it just doesn't get really painted, and I was just like, you know what, I'm not gonna go mix up product because it'll waste a bunch. It's on the very close edge. You know, it'll be the roll cage will be there. You're really not going to tell. So yeah, so with that, again, clean the gun, and then you'll see the rest of the process for painting the roof, which is pull the letters off, put the inverted mask down, mesh that all off, paint it, clean the gun, do the same thing. Oh, actually, no, I got to do the inner coat clear first. So after this black dries, I'll mix up the inner coat clear, spray that down. I had a bunch more flake to it, just because I wanted to see what a bunch more flake would look like, and because it's going to be inside the car, it's going to be a little bit darker. It might need a little bit more flake to pop. But yeah, so I add a ton of flake to it, and yeah, so I'm just going to get to painting, and I'm going to shut up now. So this is what I mean by the inverted mask. I now have that vinyl as a square, and all of the letters are going to be exposed, whereas before I had the letters covered. This is a very finicky part to get done. I'm going to look and see if I can maybe get some clear transfer paper for when I do the rest of the car, because I couldn't really see where the letters were or underneath it. So if I can get some clear stuff, that might help me out. For the most part, pulling this off wasn't terribly hard. It was just getting all of the letters like lined up. Now, fortunately, I'm painting the Annihilator white, so if I don't get it perfectly lined up, you're never really going to tell the difference between the white and the gray primer along the very, very edges. Your eyes will just tell you that it's the same. So now that I got that, I'm just going to mask around it. I'm going to mask around it so that I have something to tape some plastic to. So after that, I'll roll out some plastic. I ran out of my thicker tape, so I got to swap down to the smaller masking tape, which is okay. But yeah, so I'll just unroll this plastic. I'll kind of lay it loosely over the roof. And I keep wanting in my mind calling this the hood, but it's not. It's the roof. Lay this over. I'll take my sharp razor blade, cut it out, tape it down. And if you noticed, my amazing wife was being a little bit of an assistant here. So she was helping me out get this stretched out over the roof. But yeah, so once I tape this off, I'll paint it. And then after the paint dries, I'll give it about 10-15 minutes, and then I'll pull the masking off, and then I'll do the same thing for racing, only it'll get painted red, and then I will clear the roof. So it might be a little bit hard to see on camera, but with the red, it was very easy to see the parts of the gray where the red didn't cover. So I'm just taking a little bit of the leftover product and I'm just using a brush and just touching it up right along the edges. It turned out very well, no complaints there. And then as soon as I finish touching this up, spraying the clear. And let me tell you, after I sprayed the first coat of clear, I was starting to get giddy. Like, it already looked so good. Just one coat of clear, and it looked so good. So, second coat of clear, a little bit heavier, and I'm telling you, I am just so happy with how good this looks. In my wildest dreams, I did not think it was going to look that good, but it does. I was considering doing a third coat of clear, but I was like, you know what, this is just my roof. I don't want to put a ton of extra weight into it. Just on the inside, don't need to do it. Because, oh man, I'm telling you, it looks so much better in person than it ever does in camera. Like, I took pictures on my phone, the GoPro, and it just does not capture how good it looks. Maybe what I'll try and do, and my wife gave me this recommendation, is on a nice sunny day, if I get a sunny day before I install the roof on the car, maybe I'll try and just get it out in the sunlight just to show it off. Yeah, so I'm going to take all the masking off of the roof before it fully dries. Just this way, I don't run the risk of the paint drying and peeling. As I peel the tape off, and then, yeah, that's just going to sit for a couple of days to cure. So while the roof is curing, I'm not going to do metal work on the car because I really don't want to send dust all throughout the shop, because that'll land on the clear coat. And even though, it's going to be in the roof, it's not the end of the world. I just don't want to make it dirty if I don't have to. But yeah, so the interior of the car, because I didn't tape the trans tunnel, when I was blowing out all the dust underneath the car, it all just plumed up in through the trans tunnel and kind of covered the interior. So the interior is just covered in dust. Luckily, I got clear coat, a little bit of glass cleaner, a rag, and it actually cleans up pretty nicely. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish cleaning off the interior of the car. And the next thing I'm going to do after I clean off the interior is, well, got to get some heat in the shop. I think it was only like 10 degrees in there. Until I got the clear, I wanted to help cure it. So bring it up a couple of degrees. It's not really all that cold. Yeah, so I'm switching the car over from welded zip tie mounts to using wire saddles. The metal zip tie mounts were pretty sharp, and I didn't like them as much. So I'm gonna mount the wire saddles into the car with riv nuts. So before I painted the car, I opened up all the holes to the appropriate size for the riv nuts. So that's what I'm going ahead and doing right now. I'm just going to install the riv nuts. Although I had a hell of a time with these first few because I didn't know how the tool worked and there were no instructions. So after a YouTube video of somebody showing me how to use riv nuts, I was off to the races. So I think I've got like 10 to 12 per side to do. So I've got this great tool here. It'll do these 1032 riv nuts. You just put it in there, crush it down. The riv nut kind of squishes and mushrooms out and fills that hole and is pretty solid. So these are, because these aren't the car, these are stainless steel, so they hopefully shouldn't rust. Now mind you, these are Amazon stainless steel, probably straight out of the Great Republic of China. So probably made out of Chinese stainless, which is probably not as stainless as I would hope, but only time will tell. And so, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and keep throwing these riv nuts in the car. So I wanted to make sure that all of these riv nuts were installed before I start my next project, which is starting to install sound deadener in the rest of the car. Now, I wanted the riv nuts installed beforehand, just because this way I know where all the locations are. It'll be fairly easy to install them. And then once the sound deadener is installed, I can use a gasket making hole punch to remove the sound deadening in the area where the riv nuts are covered up. Now, why am I putting sound deadening in the car? Well, it is stupidly loud in this car. It was stupidly loud before. I mean, I have a bigger engine, more powerful, bigger headers this time around. So in theory, it's going to be even louder. And for me, I didn't like driving the car with it being as loud as it was. Now, there are going to be car guys out there who would crucify me for saying that, but I like driving the car without my ears ringing after 10 minutes. Maybe that's just a personal preference. So last year, when I had all the interior in, I at least threw some sound deadening in the back, and that helped quite a bit. But I knew that this winter, I was going to be doing the rest of it. So yeah, so I'm just going through and doing my best to get this installed in a fairly clean way. I did the passenger side a lot better than the driver's side, but you know, these are tarred down effectively, so I'm not pulling it up to redo anything. Also on the plus side, I didn't use as much of the sound deadening as I thought I was going to. So I bought 3 boxes of the stuff, and each box is 40 pounds. So I was like, well, I guess I'm adding 120 pounds back to the car. But between the rear and the passenger compartment, I only used like a box and a half. So I'm pretty happy that I didn't use all of it. And then I have a bunch spare. You know, I could put a little bit more in the rear quarters if I want. I think I pulled out that old sound deadening that was in there. And I may end up doing that just to, you know, give me a little bit more. I might put some on the inside of the doors. Going to be fiberglass doors, so, you know, not much to them. But we'll see. Just from banging the floorboards on the inside of the car, the driver's side, after I put sound deadening, like, it doesn't reverberate as much. It's a very muted sound, so it's already way better than it was. So we'll just see what else I got to do to get it going. So another thing about installing the sound deadening, some people are probably going to be looking at this going, but dude, you literally just painted the floor. Like, you did base, inner coat, clear with metal flake, and clear coat. Why are you covering it up? Excellent question. As with all the paint on this car thus far, it was all practice. I wanted to practice the priming, the painting, the technique, everything again. Knowing full well while I was doing it, yes, I would be covering up a good chunk of it on the floor pan. But there's going to be some of it in the trans tunnel that isn't covered. There's the rocker sills that aren't covered. I mean, maybe I do cover those eventually, but they aren't at the moment. So there is a good chunk that you will see, which is why I want to cover everything. yeah, I laid down this passenger side way nicer than I laid down the driver's side. I'm kind of a little upset with myself that I didn't do a little bit better of a job on the driver's side. But as I said, like, that stuff is stuck. It is not coming off. It'll probably pull all the paint off if I tried. So now that that's done, we can kind of get back to doing some of the electrical stuff. And what I'm doing is I'm using some 1032 button head cap screws that I got at the local hardware store because I don't have the proper ones that I want yet, just to put these wire saddles in so that I can start getting the electrical back in the car. Yeah, so just putting it loosely in there, and then I will fully drive them home with a drill in a bit after. So yeah, with all of those tightened down and in place, it is time to start moving on to my electrical panel. So that's what holds my fuse box, my ECU, my relay board. And I'm going to do the same treatment to this as I did to the car, and that is no longer use nuts on the back side. I'm going to put riv nuts in this. So I'm just taking the bolts off, and this one was being a real pain in the ass to get off of there. And then as it turns out, I found out that somebody had used red Loctite on this. And what a fucking jerk that guy is. Because, you know, blue Loctite exists. But, yeah, that idiot that I had working on this before used red Loctite, and that was stupidly tough to get off of there. For a moment, I thought I was going to have to cut it off. Yeah, so I'm just going to take the rest of this stuff off of this board, and then I'm going to make sure I got all my holes lined up, make sure it's all tested, and then I will install riv nuts everywhere that I need wire saddles or to mount boards. That way it just makes it a little bit easier to pull stuff off and put it back on. You don't need to worry about nuts on the back end. I don't have to reach like behind the board. And just a little bit cleaner. So if you know me, I'm not the smartest person in the room, so I'm putting this in, and I'm like, what the hell? Why isn't this lining up? And I realized, oh, I have it backwards. Idiot. So once I put it in the right way, everything starts lining up a bit better, and I'm just checking to make sure that I've got things lined up the way I want it, and it's going to look good. So with that, it is time to put 40 pounds of wiring back into this car. So that is the bundle of wires that runs in the interior of this car. I've got other wiring harnesses on the engine side, but yeah, that is everything that I use to run the car pretty much. What I'm doing here is I'm just kind of laying everything out, getting it back into its rough place, and I'm looking at the electrical panel there, and I'm just figuring out exactly which holes and everything that I need to properly drill out and put nutserts into, and just, yeah, getting a general sense of where everything's going to go again. When I reinstalled the harness bar, I very specifically did not drill any holes in the little piece that I'm drilling a hole in now, because I didn't know exactly where to drill it. So now that I had the electrical panel mounted, I put a little mark with a Sharpie, and now I can just drill out the hole, and then I can put a riv nut in there, and that will allow me to mount the board in 3 places, the 2 on the bottom, 1 on the top, just like it was before. The reason why I'm putting tape on here is because the tape will help not destroy the paint as I'm drilling, and make it so that, paint chips are kind of localized just to the hole where I'm drilling, and then I can just kind of touch it up a little bit afterwards, or not. I can just put a riv nut in there and call it good enough. Yeah, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go take that ECU off and, get nutserts in the rest of the places that I need them. Yeah, the board's done. It's time to get this back in the car and start mounting some things to it. We got everything more or less mounted to the plate. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start getting the rest of the wire loom roughly back into place. I'm going to use some zip ties on those wire saddles to, do so. Make sure everything is going to lay out nicely, just like it, did before. All right, now that that's done, it's time to start thinking about the wiring. I've got about, I got like 50 plus wires to add to this. I've got a ton of sensors. I've just got a whole pile of stuff that I'm adding to the car. So the 2 sheets on the left are all the wires I got to add. The 3 sheets on the right are my existing through panels things. I'm also moving some wires around in the car. So I had a bunch of wires going to the 2 through panel connectors in both fenders. Well, I'm moving a bunch of wires from there into the main engine harness because I'm moving where my coils are. And then on top of that, I need, to run more power to the front because I need to run my coil power up there. So there is just, quite a bit of stuff I need to change and move and really think about while I'm doing this, because if I mess this up, it's just going to be a ton of work I'm gonna have to redo. So it's really taking my time to think about this and go through things and make sure I'm not screwing anything up. So, as almost always when I'm doing electrical, I got my laptop out because I can pull up the wiring for the Holley Dominator, and just make sure as I'm going through this that, I'm not screwing things up. And there were also some wires in this harness that I just don't need anymore. So there was a couple that went to the ignition ESTO bypass out. I'm not using those because I don't need them. But I had them in the harness because I thought I was going to use them. There's a couple of wires for knock sensors. What I found out later is that the Holley knock sensor detection is really not useful, and almost nobody runs knock sensors with Holley. So I can pull those wires out. And there's just a bunch of other things. So I'm really just trying to plan this the best way I can. And so that's why, the electrical is going to take me a little bit of time to do. So right now I'm just trying to figure out how long some of the wires I'm going to add need to be. So I'm taking this pull string and I'm just kind of running it from the start all the way along. But with getting this measurement, that is all the time that we have for this video. So as always, if you stuck around this long, I'd like to thank you for viewing, and we'll see you in the next one.